Hello, and welcome to this first episode of Mark's Musings. This is actually a reshoot, something that nobody likes to do because I had already recorded this video in an entirely different format as a walk and talk. So I had seen walk and talks before, and I thought it would be a fun thing to do. So I purchased one of these telescopic perches on Amazon for my smartphone. And I recorded not one, but actually two walk and talks on two different subjects. And I had fun. I really had fun doing that. But the trouble is, uh, I live here in Algarve, which is the south of Portugal, and by the coast and in a part of Algarve where there is a lot of wind in summer, which is great because with the kind of heat we get here in summer, you want to have a wind and you want to have that gorgeous marine air being swirled around by the wind. So it's very good, but the trouble is sometimes the wind covers my voice. Many times in these videos, the wind was entirely covering my voice. So that was the first problem. And the second problem was that the definition of the camera of on my phone is pretty insane. Now, it is so strong that I actually call it over definition, because the slightest line, the slightest wrinkle you have on your face will appear 3 times deeper than it actually is. So you're welcome to call me vain if you want, but I kind of had an issue with that as well. Now, the voice issue was actually the primary one. And it sucks because of my conversation style that I'm using in these videos, I cannot do shorts. So I could, but that would really be, it would be going against my nature. And so I don't think it would be really beneficial to what I'm trying to express and to the points I'm trying to bring about. So I apologize if you have a short attention span. If you have a short attention span, my videos are not going to be for you unless you're ready and willing to pause them very often and come back later. But without further ado, let's introduce the theme of this first video, which is artificial dialectics. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of that. A lot of that going on. So what am I calling an artificial dialectic? Well, to sum it up in a few words, it is actually the engineering of two alternatives, two polar opposites. And it makes it look like you have a choice between these two opposites, and the spectrum of available choices cannot go further than these two. And that design is meant to capture and restrain and limit our perception within these narrow parameters that have been defined by these two polar opposites. It's a bit like in politics, you have a choice between the left and the right, if these words still have any meaning left. But that's the choice you're basically being given in politics. So never mind, there would be so many other possibilities if we were going out of this very artificial sphere of professional politics. But that's really not the example I want to focus on today to illustrate this manipulation technique that is being used a lot to control humanity. I'm going to go into a much more woo subject because I love woo. I trade in woo. I specialize in woo, and woo is actually allows us to go much deeper than mainstream. And that's what I'm attracted to. That's what motivates me. So I'm definitely going woo. And we're going into the exopolitical type of woo today. So if you're not familiar with that term, I don't know who coined it initially, but exopolitics is the theme of the influence of extraterrestrial life on Earth human politics. So basically, it's the influence that extraterrestrial races and civilizations have here behind the scenes and the impact it has on what's going on Earth. So one researcher I have a lot of respect for in the field of exopolitics is Dr. Michael Salla. And Michael Salla has a channel that is called Exopolitics and a website that is exopolitics.org. And he's a very good researcher, and he goes really deep in that area. So he's also a very ethical individual and very respectful of the people he interviews, and very well-meaning, very benevolent. So I have a lot of praise for him, and he brought to the public's attention a really valuable body of information. And you can probably tell that I'm going to be a little bit critical, not of him, but of certain aspects of the information he presents. The man, for me, is perfect for what he does. He does exactly what he's supposed to do, and he does it very well. But I also believe that it's possible to go deeper, and that some of us actually need to be introduced to a broader framework of understanding because of the times we are in. You know, in the times we are in, some of us really need to have Michael Salla's perspective and information, and others need to have a broader and somewhat deeper understanding of what's going on. They need to get the very, very big picture of what's going on. And that is what I would like to help with to the best of my ability. So Michael recently released a video called Super Soldiers, and Ascended Masters. And that is a prime example of that phenomenon of artificial dialectic, synthetically engineered dialectic that I want to discuss today. So what Michael explains is that due to the imminent, really imminent disclosure of the extraterrestrial presence in our solar system and on Earth, and the really gigantic variety of life in the universe, and how, okay, I, I need to restrain myself a little bit here and not to go expand in all directions at once. So, because the videos I record are never scripted, they are on the fly, they are free flowing. So, because that's also the best way to function for me. So, super soldiers and ascended masters. Let's start with these two. If you haven't been introduced to these two notions yet, or you don't know much about them, super soldiers are soldiers, of course, who have been, their biology has been enhanced. Augmented is the trendy term to designate that process. So through technology, their biology has been what would be the right term for that? Let's just say that there has been technological interventions on their biology to make it significantly more efficient. And that can be done through nanotechnology, through nanobots, so that are filling the body. It can also be done through frequency machines that are working directly on your DNA. And so abilities that are dormant can be awakened. The strength and the speed of the body can be enhanced. The durability, the stamina can be enhanced, significantly so. There can also be ways to mimic certain abilities that the mainstream call paranormal, which are actually very normal, like telepathy, through technology. For instance, you can be telepathically linked with, let's say, members of your team or your hierarchy, your command structure, if you're a soldier, through nanotech, for instance, or implants. So the purpose of all these interventions, of course, is to make much more powerful soldiers that are going to be much more efficient in the field. And so where are these super soldiers? Who has them? Well, multiple countries do have them, but they are primarily active in the context of the secret space programs. So multiple countries have a secret space program. There are actually many secret space programs. Even the United Nations have a secret space program. So this is all part of the very unhealthy level of secrecy that our societies are choking on. To use an expression that's been coined by Catherine Austin Fitts. Of course, if you have outer space, if you engage in outer space activities and you interact with many extraterrestrial beings, some of them might be hostile, and some of them might be physically much stronger, for instance, or had the powers to read your mind, or had the power to hypnotize you, so to speak. You would want to have ways to level the playing field as much as you can. And that is what these technologies aim for. And that is why that is the motivation for the whole super soldier program. So that's for super soldiers. And there are lots of approaches to that phenomenon, some very unethical, some kind of ethical. There is a whole spectrum. And as to ascended masters, they are very well known in the New Age movement by that name. So it's a name that I really don't resonate with, because it comes from a very hierarchical mindset, which is typical of what I call synthetic spirituality, synthetic light. Some people call it false light, but false is too restrictive of a term, I find. So synthetic light and synthetic spirituality sound more appropriate to me. So ascended master is a term that is pretty pompous, but it really comes from that hierarchical paradigm where there is higher and lower, and what is higher is superior, it's better than what is lower. So if you are ascended, it means that you have acquired a position that is higher, hence superior to the one you initially found yourself in. And mastery means that you have mastered, let's say, the lessons that a certain kind of reality had to teach you as an evolving soul. So the whole concept of an ascended master means that in our context, you have mastered all the lessons that physical life on Earth had to impart. And so you have transcended the whole context of physicality on Earth. And so because you vibrate at such a high rate now, you are able to, let's say, project your body into another state of being in a higher dimension. So New Agers will tell you that it's most often they will refer to the fifth dimension and beyond. And there's a lot to say about that. There is a lot to say about dimensions and the way they get their numbers, which can be very misleading too. But that's basically the idea. You become so enlightened that you ascend to a higher plane of existence, where you have a much more expanded consciousness and lots of abilities that enable you to actually act on the physical sphere from above. And so you have responsibilities to guide humanity and to teach and enlighten humans who are still in physical life, in the third dimension. And the whole point that Michael was presenting in that video as an introduction to a webinar he was going to give was that in the years to come, these two paths, are going to become increasingly available to the masses, to the majority of humanity, meaning that many people will get attracted to one of these two paths because of the imminent disclosure. And I completely agree with him on that. It is very visible, if you can read the play, that the moves are ramping up to introduce the reality of extraterrestrial existence and presence as a concept into the minds of humanity. Whereas an awful lot of effort and resources have been spent so far to program people into not looking into these things. Don't go there, don't look there. Or the magic buzzwords little green men are going to be thrown at you. You don't want that, right? You don't want to have little green men thrown at you. So we are being prepared. The consciousness of the masses is being massaged so that at some point a significant disclosure can occur. And it's not in the distant future at all. It is close. It is really close now. So according to Michael Salla, when people are finally realizing, because it is being introduced to the mainstream, that there has been a breakaway civilization and that humanity has been in touch with many extraterrestrial cultures, races, civilizations unknown to our known civilization, widely known civilization. And when we are being introduced to exopolitical constructs like federations and are being invited to join these federations, you know, the whole purpose of the Star Trek series was to prepare us to that. So you can see how that effort has been in a very low-key kind of way going on for decades now. So when that happens, many people will be tempted to go the super soldier way. And the kind of society that is going to be proposed to us in the years to come will probably look a lot like Star Trek, meaning a semi-militarized, spacefaring civilization. Interstellar, even intergalactic, actually. And it's going to be a shock, of course, for the average Earth human. It's going to be a shock. It's going to be a lot, cognitively speaking. It's going to be a lot of cognitive dissonance and quite a stretch in terms of adjustment, in terms of adaptation. And because there is such also a wide array of abilities of all kinds among extraterrestrial races that might induce many of us to feel inferior or at a disadvantage because we don't really realize who we truly are. We don't realize the tremendous power that the human race of Earth is harboring. And that's because we have been purposefully, intentionally diminished to our current state. So there is a lot to discuss about that, but let's just say that many people will have that inferiority complex somehow, you might say. And at the same time, they will want to engage in that life of exploration, because all of a sudden, it's not just us anymore. It's such a bigger, wider, more expansive field of interaction, field of exploration, field of trade and diplomacy and cultural exchanges and traveling beyond the stars. So adventure is a very powerful motivator. It's actually one of the two core motivators in existence, in all of existence, is the sense of adventure. The other one is love. Love and adventure. These are really the two core motivators. That's also a discussion for another day. There will be many other days of discussion, I promise you. So for these people, it will be very tempting to go through these processes of so-called augmentation in an attempt to level the playing field, feel more equal. We are beyond. We are way, 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 way beyond what we believe we are. And let's leave it at that for the moment. But so I believe Michael is right in that respect. It will be very tempting. And the other pole being engaging into spiritual practices. So there will be many, many revelations in the spiritual area as well. Revelations about the origins of religions, revelations about the spiritual understanding of these extraterrestrial races and interdimensional races. And these are two terms that overlap, extraterrestrial and interdimensional, because beings exist in all kinds of different frequencies. Even here on Earth, we have many beings who live in different frequencies. So most extraterrestrials are also, from our perspective, they can also be called interdimensional. But because our understanding of spirituality is going to be expanded as well, there are also people who will want to explore and engage in that direction, and Ascended Mastery is going to be presented to them as a lofty, extremely desirable goal to attain, as the most amazing liberation there could be. It's already presented like that in a very large section and portion of the New Age movement. And so in religious terms, in the terms of religious traditions, it can be equaled with, for Christianity, becoming a saint, or for Buddhism, becoming a bodhisattva, or even a Buddha. The thing is, from where I come from, it's not as desirable as it is presented. And there we are getting to the whole core of this discussion, which is that these two choices, which will be presented, which are already being presented, but there will be much, much more emphasis on them in the years to come. These two choices, they're limited. They are actually, from my perspective, very limited. And that doesn't mean that they are invalid by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not judging these two paths as invalid. For the people who will take them, it will be exactly the right path to get on, because not everyone is meant to go to the same place at the same time. There's a timing to our evolution, and there are steps in our evolution as we engage in our cosmic journeys. And so, to me, the super soldier is the path of technology. And I mean the really concrete hardware kind of technology. Whereas Ascended Mastery is, at the end of the day, it's also, to me at least, a kind of technology, a spiritual kind of technology. Ascended Mastery, as I understand it, for me, is the path of synthetic illumination. And it will project you, it will propel you into a reality that can feel absolutely amazing. You know, there is a tremendous buzz effect to these synthetic light realities, and bliss. There is megatons, megatons of bliss, and bliss is actually a very powerful control tool. Think of the expression blissfully ignorant. There is no clarity in bliss. Oh, it feels good. Sure, it feels good, like a sugar rush. like an extreme sugar rush. If some of you have seen the rebooted, the remake of the V series, so not the initial one in the 80s, the more recent one, that's exactly what it shows. You know, that queen, that extraterrestrial queen, is controlling her people through bliss. So Ascended Mastery will get you to a certain point. So you will be told of all kinds of dimensions, but the way I see it, all of that, in fact, happens in the fourth dimension. And there's a lot to say about that too. But let's just say that there are entities in the higher levels of the fourth dimension that really want you to focus your attention, your energy on them, because they really like your energy and the power it gives them. And so because there are so many sublayers in the fourth dimension, many people are tricked into believing that the higher overtones of the fourth dimension is actually a much more refined and subtle reality. density, as some say, the 12th dimension. So to me, there's a trick there, a very big trick. And still it's very impressive because, yes, ascended masters, to use that term, have much more abilities than the ordinary asleep human have. Again, because we have been terribly diminished. There's been a very intense, prolonged, multi-pronged, fierce, ferocious attack on humanity for many millennia to bring us to the state we are currently in. And at a deeper level, we had given our consent to that. So it's not that we are absolute victims. And there was a purpose, there was a deep purpose to that. But still, in comparison to what we are really supposed to achieve, it's very limited. It is very limited. The ascension paradigm is very limited. And the whole concept of it is flawed, because the whole concept of it is that we are supposed to make a leap from one plane of existence, one dimension, to the next. But this completely ignores the fact that we are already multidimensional beings. We already exist in 12 dimensions simultaneously. So why is it exactly that we are supposed to completely disappear from the third dimension and spend our life in the fifth if we are already present in the fifth and all the other ones? Let that sink in for a moment. I repeat, let that sink in for the moment. So, in my understanding, what we are asked to achieve is not ascension, even though that's a valid temporary experience for some, because it's exploration of possibilities. So to me, it's not ascension, it's integration. That is the true purpose of our experience on planet Earth in this period that is like no other. It's the completion of cycles, what in religious terms you would call the end times, or the end of times. And it's cycles within cycles within cycles, all coming to an end and a point of completion simultaneously. It's massive, absolutely massive. And integrating all of our aspects, all of our multidimensional aspects into one single unified expression. That is not ascension. That is integration. It is transcendence. It is the very reason why this planet, that is like no other planet, was created to offer a reality that would enable one to fully integrate all of their aspects. So much bigger than ascension, so much deeper, so much more powerful than ascension could ever be. So these two paths, the path of technology and the path of synthetic spirituality, obviously we are already on the path of technology, and very heavily so. There is an entity There is an entity who is asserting itself through technology in an extremely vigorous way here on Earth and in many other places in the universe. But here on Earth specifically, if you don't see it, how vigorous it is, I don't know where you live. But that process will come to its apex in the years to come with the dissemination of absolutely mind-boggling technologies. So they're going to create what my friend, the great George Kefasilas, calls awe and wonder. So that path of technology, many people will take it. Many people will go deeper into it because, so many are already very deep into it, but deeper into that, into the full cyborg experience. And on the other hand, what seems a natural path, but really isn't, because it's synthetic light. And when I say synthetic, it's not in the sense that it's produced by machines. It's that it's not the original light of the universe. It's a distorted version that was and is produced by certain entities that in religious terms are called the gods. So I won't go the path of the cyborg, that's for sure. I won't go the path of the ascended master either. I've been there and done that, both of them. And many of you have too. So you can pat yourself on the back and say, been there, done that, thank you very much. Not doing it anymore. It was fun and sometimes horrible, but no. I've gone through the ecstasy and the agony, and now it's time for something else. It's time for something so huge and meaningful, which is the birth of a new form of planetary life that's never been seen anywhere in the universe before. So my advice to you in conclusion is be wary, be mindful of bogus alternatives, bogus choices, and synthetically engineered dialectics, because there is always dialectic at play. In the conspiratorial area, we've heard a lot about Hegelian dialectic over the last decades and the problem reaction solution dynamics that the gods actually invented. But this universe is based on, in a way, what you might call dialectics, as in alternating states of being, alternate expressions, contrasting expressions. It is a universe of contrasting expressions, and that is the core, the absolute core dynamics on which our universe functions. And because of that, you will encounter duality at every single level of existence in the most subtle realms in this universe, the most refined dimensions. You will find duality. But in these realms, the opposites, they are in harmony. They are in dynamic balance and harmony. So they're never at war with one another. They're never in conflict. Whereas in denser domains, denser expressions of life, we can have conflict, we can have drama and war and evil. So we will always have these polar opposites. But we want the real thing. We want to have a choice that is the full choice, not a limited version meant to cage our perception in a restricted field of possibilities. So that is my conclusion, and it was less fun than the walk and talk, to be very honest with you, to stare at my screen and talk to myself in this apartment, but nevertheless, it's something that I really wanted to discuss, and I find it very important, and I'm glad I did, and see you soon for another video and another deep dive if you want it.